Picture this. It looks like an image of a lion about to pounce on a prey. PSG are hunting. PSG are looking like wild dogs without the ball. The man-oriented, intense high press is one of the most remarkable achievements that Luis Enrique has created in PSG at the moment. However, that is what Maresca has been training Chelsea for. So Enzo Maresca has had his press conference while I was making this video, and Enzo Maresca has said a lot about this game. And he has also been asked a question on how he's going to cope up with the PSG press. And I liked the way Maresca talked. You see, Ousmane Dembele has been the face of how PSG want to press, the face of how PSG will look to hunt the ball down. But that is what Maresca has been training his players since the time he came to Chelsea. Before we even start our analysis, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel if you are new. So, the way PSG press, Unai Emery actually solved this tactical problem that a lot of teams have failed to actually solve. And Enzo Maresca has actually hinted on doing the same. So, there's a time that Villa were playing PSG in the Champions League, and Villa almost knocked out PSG. And the way Villa did it is the blueprint that Enzo Maresca might actually look to do. As you saw the way Kane was pressing in the previous clip, you do understand that your players need to press as much as PSG. Your players need to run as much as PSG. And Unai Emery identified this. When he went 2-0 down to PSG, he abandoned his defensive pragmatic approach and embraced a more offensive, aggressive, higher block against PSG, and PSG capitulated. So what did Unai actually do? That is what we want to look at. So one thing you need to understand is that Villa lined up in a 4-2-3-1, PSG with their usual 4-3-3. And PSG were ready from the first minute, ready to press the back line and win that ball as quick as possible. And because of this, PSG constantly kept Aston Villa under pressure that saw Aston Villa actually looking to go long because they didn't want to lose the ball in very dangerous areas of the pitch. And immediately Aston Villa went long, PSG won the ball, and that was the main intention of PSG. And I just want to show you how aggressive PSG are when they are looking to press, because immediately they win it, they move to their shape. Here it is. So Aston Villa have the ball. Aston Villa are trying to create that box midfield by dropping one forward alongside the number 10 and maintaining the wingers high and wide. PSG on the other side are looking to move into that 4-1-4-1 press, and they are looking to press in a man-to-man fashion, in a ball-oriented fashion. And here comes the press. The press is so intense, forces Villa the ball to the touchline, the ball is played to the touchline, and PSG win that ball. Just quickly, under 2 seconds, and PSG win it. Here again, Dembele leads the press, presses the centre back, and all central passing options have been closed. And now, Chelsea are looking to try Aston Villa are now looking to actually lose the ball. The ball is played back to the goalkeeper. PSG increase their intense press. PSG in this game. So, what do you notice? What you notice is that when PSG have the ball, they look to be much more aggressive. They look to be very aggressive to force mistakes. But Unai Emery understood that the only way he could do this is to make sure that his players are able to go direct, either by committing more players forward or using his goalkeeper to actually play the ball to the fullback as quickly as possible. Once the ball is played to the fullback as quickly as possible, then the fullback can look to play the ball to the winger or a midfielder who's coming short to help during build-up, so that they are able to exploit third man run combinations. And this actually worked for Aston Villa because because PSG want to press narrowly and aggressively, they started to play the ball onto the wide areas and move the ball very fast. Now, when PSG had the ball, Aston Villa in the first leg were looking to be more passive. But in the second leg, they were more aggressive and they pressed with a 4-2-3-1. Not just a 4-2-3-1, an aggressive high line was also used. In that, Aston Villa wanted to maintain a narrow shape during press, a high block, a high aggressive block. And PSG, as usual, resorted to what they know how to do best, and that is attacking the wide areas. Looking to have Hakimi and Do receive the ball, or Kvaratskhelia to receive the ball the other side. And once the ball had been received in this case, then Hakimi would be looking to make those underlapping runs that he likes to make, because they like to create that overload against the left-sided centre-back, because Hakimi plays more of a wing-back. But Aston Villa decided to be much more aggressive with their play. And their main aim was, when the ball will be played out wide, they immediately move into an aggressive touchline press, where they look to cover all central passing channels while applying pressure on the player with the ball. And they actually won the ball and scored a goal from this position, meaning that if you decide to go aggressive on PSG, you are more likely to win the ball off them in very dangerous zones. Now, PSG, we have also known, like to build with the back three and having Vitinha as the deepest pivot during build-up. And so Aston Villa decided to move into a 4-2-4, using their midfielders to cover the midfield overload and using their forwards momentarily, one covering a central midfielder while the wide players looking to cover the wide centre backs. And this actually worked because they were able to stop players like Marquinhos to find the ball and play it to Hakimi, because they were constantly being put under pressure. And whenever they tried to enter through the centre, then Aston Villa would win that ball quickly and look to transition. So you notice one thing, that the 4-2-4, just that like the way I like to explain, usually limits the back three, because they're able to cover the central spaces and they're also able to cover the wide centre backs. And because PSG like to play balls to the half space regions and look to find cutbacks, Aston Villa also adapted their game in this scenario, preferring to have runners to cover those players whenever they look to make those runs in the half space. And that can be either be covered by a midfielder dropping into the back line, or alternatively, even a much more elaborate scheme where the midfielder stays in midfield to protect zone 14 and the winger drops deep. So Chelsea's wingers will be so important when it comes to dropping deep and looking to force PSG, especially Hakimi, not to play the ball forward. Because of the man-oriented aggressive press that PSG have, the team has to heavily rely upon individual brilliance to wriggle themselves out of this intense press, because the pressing is so intense, and therefore you need your best players on the ball to wriggle themselves past this press. And so what is actually going to do? So Enzo Maresca's time at Chelsea, he has constantly emphasized that he wants to play from the back. He has constantly emphasized rondos in training. And in Maresca's speech, he's talking like, that is what I expect you to do. There's a reason why you've been training the entire week. The reason why you've been seeing Chelsea building from the back. The reason why you've been seeing Chelsea looking to have the ball and dominate possession. That is what Enzo Maresca is saying. That is what Chelsea players know. That is what Chelsea's players have been told, that you need to be so, so good with the ball. And so this is a test that all players, actually it is probably one player on the pitch who is somehow suspicious with his passing, and that is Robert Sanchez. All the other players are super good when it comes to having the ball at their feet. And so whenever you look at Chelsea's games, they always dominate the ball. Whenever you see them, they have central midfielders who are very technical with the ball. Caicedo is one of them, Fernandes is one of them, Palma is one of them. Even the wide players such as Neto are also good at receiving the ball under pressure. Now Pedro is also that player. And so Maresca's envisions that his team will be facing a high aggressive block. And those are the teams that Chelsea have really thrived against. Because remember, Maresca is a possession-oriented manager. Maresca emphasizes on building play from the back. Maresca emphasizes on passing the ball and moving the ball high up the pitch with short, simple passes in a structured manner. And because of this, what you automatically notice is that now Chelsea find themselves in this position where they are going to face a team that they have been training for the past full season. Because now Maresca is throwing this to their players like, you have been training on rondos, you have been training on actually receiving the ball in tight spaces. So your main aim is to know how you're going to build up. And Chelsea do this. Chelsea do this by either inverting the midfielder inside and also starting the wingers out wide, so that the wingers who are much more comfortable with the ball can receive the ball and have that 1v1 ability with their fullback. And we can see this in this clip, the way Chelsea is actually players receiving the ball in midfield, and automatically the fullback who has been dragged out has left space in the opposition's backline. And a simple pass forward is able to eliminate the entire opposition's backline and actually put Chelsea's players in a 1v2 situation like here. Though I think that Jackson did not actually play the correct pass in this kind of scenario. So Chelsea will actually look to try and do that. Without the ball, what you notice again is the back four. The back four. So sometimes you have seen Chelsea to be much more lenient the way they press. And one way Chelsea can look to break this down is by going into a 4-2-2-2-2. A 4-2-2-2-2 and actually looking to go direct to one forward and actually flick the ball onto the other forward. And that is something that Maresca has tried later on in the season, that it's not a must that Chelsea build from the back. No. Chelsea can actually draw players to press them and then go long. Like, look at this structure here. Look at the position of Sanchez. Look at the position of Tosin. Look at the position of Colwill. And look at the position of Chelsea's forwards. Maresca here used Neto and Delap as two forwards. And look, rather than actually playing through the middle, they are looking to go direct and isolate the opposition defenders 1v1. And this is a tool that Maresca might use in the final. He might decide that he's going to push more players forward, especially their forward players, pushing them forward so that he's able to create those isolated moments, so that even if PSG commit more players in the press, then they will be left vulnerable in the back line. And that's one way that Maresca has been doing this. And if they do so, then it means that Chelsea will find themselves in a situation where they will be having those counter-attacking situations. And this high press is going to suit players such as Pedro Neto, Liam Delap, João Pedro, who always like to make those runs, especially Neto and Delap. And players like Palma and João Pedro actually thriving from acting from those creative phases of play. Another thing that we need to understand is that because of the way PSG like to press, the owners is heavily on Chelsea to know how to play through that press. And one way that I have said Chelsea can do this is if Sanchez has his game, and if Chelsea decide to either play short, intricate passes or decide to just go directly long, something that I've showed you that Chelsea have tried to do throughout the season. That is the 4-2-2-2-2 structure. What do you think? Do you agree with my side that Chelsea should actually look to go more direct or use a 4-2-2-2 during build-up? Leave your comments in the comment section area below. This is the part 2 of this series. Part 3, we are going to look at Maresca's suitable lineup for this game. And we are also going to look at Chelsea's overall tactics in this game, in possession and out of possession. Leave your comments in the comment section area below. Thanks for watching.